Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another one of your questions about work. And sometimes the reason we do these is because we get these questions a lot and we want a way of answering them. And we have a delicious moment, which is when a new member joins our team. And so Amber's joined, I don't know how long ago, but it already feels like you're a veteran on the team. For those of you who are here for the first time, I'm Roy. I'm a startup investor in the future of work. We tackle your dilemmas about work. And usually we tackle dilemmas that are more broadly applicable to lots of people in the workplace. Today, we're going to deal with one that's very close to home. And so the question today, and we've tackled this one a bit in the past, but I think not well enough, and we want to come back to it. And by the way, if you want to look, you can find past episodes at thisisnotadvice.work. And so, Amber, the question today is, how can I get a job in venture capital?
Yeah, so this is a question that I recently was asking myself as I was talking to the beta team. And I think there are three major things that I was really considering when I was interviewing. And the first thing I think is you have to know why you want to get into VC. And I think VC gets this reputation for being a very opaque industry. It's really hard to find job postings. It's hard to get resources about how to prep for interviews. Interview processes aren't really structured. So the best way that I learned about VC was actually being a founder myself. And I don't think I could have gotten this job if I hadn't started a company prior, because this is my first job out of college. And I think, if you're not a founder, you have to be spiky in another area. So you're either part of a really unique network or you have deep product or operating experience in a field. And I think that's really where you can become spiky to get a job in VC. And I think we've seen a lot of VCs who've become VCs after 2 years in consulting or 2 years in investment banking, and then they make the jump. But I think actually the bigger piece here is having extreme founder empathy. So you understand the founder process and you can speak the language of VC and startups already. This also gives an unfair bias to people who have advantages in these spaces. So if I'm someone who really has no resources in the startup world and is looking to break in, be sure to do your homework. And I think that goes into the second piece that I was thinking through, which is VC gets glamorized a lot. So people think about VCs as having going to nice dinners, doing a lot of networking, and that's all true. But the day-to-day is actually a lot of grunt work. And especially as a junior investor in an early stage fund, it's super not glamorous. So that leads to the big questions, do you even want to be a VC? And I think that's what I really learned throughout going through the beta process is I really did all of my homework to the point where I knew pretty much everything about beta. And the partner that I work most closely with at beta is James. And I pretty much stalked James all over the internet. I feel like I knew him as a close friend even before my first conversation with him. So be sure to put in the work, and that continues once you have the VC job too. So we're always on top of our stuff and being super hyper focused with our customers, which are founders in this case. Yeah.
And so wait, there was a third one though.
Yeah. So the third one was being that hyper focused. Yeah.
But I think these are great suggestions. I mean, in a way, you skipped the part of the process that is the hardest for lots of people, which is getting the interview. And I think that to me, it does start with this, do you even know what a VC is, and why you want to be one? Because I'll often have this conversation with folks and they'll be like, well, I want to be a VC because I'm curious. I like a lot of different areas. And, it seems maybe it seems glamorous to them. I don't know. They think they might make more money. And one of the fundamental things is, well, I have a lot of friends who are founders and they ask me for advice about stuff. And I really like giving advice. And that's always the one that terrifies me, because that's a great recipe for being a bad VC. You should only want to get a job at something that you think, in my opinion, that you think you can do well and that you can be proud of how you do. And the right to be able to give advice to founders is something that I don't even really think I have it all that often, only when explicitly asked. And I started 19 things, 2 companies, one of which became venture backed, and I've been doing VC for, almost a decade now. And still I feel reluctant if somebody's like, well, what product do you think I should launch or something like that? It's like, you know, so one is definitely the knowing what the job is. And I think you alluded to this, but I just want to draw it out, is it's very different at different kinds of firms. Being at a late stage firm is a lot more like another investing job. You get it by having a glittering resume from the right schools and being super smart, analytical, and being an early stage VC. And I'm exaggerating and kind of caricaturing because it's not true in every case, but being an early stage VC is a lot more like getting a sales job. Is like you get it by doing the job, you get it by selling. And, you know, the way I think of our firm is we do customer success, but for money. We sell money to people. And so you use this expression of, and so that helps you know it. And I'm always astonished, given how public VCs are, that more people haven't done more homework. You know, somebody once pitched us that we should invest in Masterclass. I'm like, yeah, like it says on our website that we did. And that's just like an instant ding. And it's not like other job processes where it's like, well, let me get the interview based on my qualifications, be interviewed. It's more like, no, do the job. And so another thing people can do is they can angel invest. And they can angel invest with tiny amounts of money. They can go try to meet the founders they know and write them a tiny little check or use a crowdfunding platform. But the more you do the job to get the job, the better off you are. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing this was one of the first things you mentioned, but the last thing I want to mention is you use this word spiky. And I think what you mean by that is having a single area or multiple areas, but where you have an unusual talent, like a high spike in that talent. And so you had tremendous founder knowledge because you had started a company. Mm-hmm. And yeah, VCs, we're trying to figure out like, what is the essence of VC? We want to figure out how to serve founders that we've invested in. We want to figure out how to win the right to invest in those companies. We want to assess the right companies to invest in, and we want to find those companies in the first place. And if you want to be a good candidate, you need to figure out a way that even at an early level, you can contribute to one or more of those areas. And so have a sense of what the spike is. And I'd say it's, you know, particularly hard. Neither of us had this disadvantage. It's particularly hard if you don't have an obvious credential. Like had you just started a company, but not had an elite academic credential, it probably would have been harder for you. It's also got to be harder for people who are not white men. And so, although I think many firms actually now really desperately want to diversify. And so I guess I just say that I'm only capable of offering what we see in our experience. And by the way, we're also hiring for a job in New York right now as we speak on our website. So for somebody to do the kind of job that Amber does, if anybody wants to go look, it's actually a perfect little recruiting moment. I hadn't intended that. And so I think that figuring out a way, if you don't have an elite academic background and you don't have an obvious spike from your resume, to stand out without being annoying. Like I've gotten tons of emails of like, here are 3 companies I sourced for you. And it's like, well, you know, some of it is the art of timing and dosage of like, well, one of the most effective things people do is they just start engaging with you lightly on Twitter a little bit and maybe a little bit more and maybe a little bit more. And then they build something and, you know, ... So some of it is you got to have the savvy to know it's not just read the tips, do them to the extreme and go for it. It's you have to develop the understanding of the community and how it works. And community's got flaws, but it does work in certain ways. Anyway, those are my, I guess I'd say, marginalia on what you just said. Anything, Amber, that comes out to you in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point about, you know, doing the job and proving you can do the job, even more so than like the very like obvious things like sourcing 3 companies. I remember when I was interviewing with James, I would just like send him interesting news articles I had read about AI or like space or Web3. And then we'd have a lot of these back and forth, like casual conversations that wasn't really like an interview question, but just proved that I was like staying on top of the space and, you know, keeping updated.
Yeah. And I mean, look, in your case, in your interview process, we were at an event while you were interviewing and we just happened to take advantage of it in the flow and be like, hey, go talk to that founder. And not only did you realize that that was both a chance for you to sell Bloomberg Beta to them, but also a chance to develop your own opinion on what they were doing. And you shared that with us proactively. And we're like, yeah, that's what we need a person in this job doing. I'll also offer that how to get the interview is also a matter of network and relationships. Yeah. And if you don't know any VCs, then it's hard to like get an interview. one of the things I'm always astonished by is people don't think, well, who, if they introduced me to that person, would they respect the most? And in our case, it's pretty obvious because we're a founders first firm. I'm astonished that more applicants don't apply via founders. Like, of go try to, get them to say somebody, and obviously we ask our founders that we back to source people, but it is, figuring that out too is a big part of it. I just invite that if anybody out there has, thoughts on what worked for them or questions they want to follow up, particularly people from underrepresented backgrounds and underestimated backgrounds who may have different lived experience than what we're describing and assuming here, to please let us know. We'd love to hear from you too. And again, you can find the answer to this and other questions that we've done at thisisnotadvice.work. Any parting thoughts before we go, Amber?
Yeah, we're actively recruiting for our New York associate role. So come work with me. It's super fun. And we've published our entire operating manual for Bloomberg Beta online. So you can find more.
I want to say, hold on. I'm going to just try to do this before we drop off. I want to say, do you remember what the short URL short code is for it? It's bit.ly beta NYC. Hold on. Everybody's seeing some live sausage being made here. Just give me a second and I will post I always forget what the URL, the short code for the URL is here. But you can definitely find it on our website. So, if you're motivated enough, but this is also part of the issue is, on the one hand, there are lots of people motivated to be in VC. And on the other hand, we sometimes struggle to find people who are, I can't find it. Darn it. Oh, well. We sometimes struggle to find people who are, who we want to back to do this. And so finding some way to, we want to sell you, but also we want you to go out and find us. So anyway, you can find it on our website. I can't find the link right now. Darn. Oh, well. So it goes. All right. Thank you, Amber. To be continued. Oh, wait. Sydney found it. Hold on. Sydney, I got you. All right. We found it. bit.ly beta roll NYC. Let me just make sure. Yeah, there it is. Add banner. Boom. There we go. That is it. bit.ly beta roll NYC. Thank you. All right, cool. To be continued. Bye.